Now let us move to question number 23. The decision has immediately drawn a sharp response from the Congress and the SP, who along with other opposition parties have been stalling the bill's passage in the Rajya Sabha. So the decision has immediately drawn a sharp response. That is, in the first part, is there any correction required? No. From the Congress and the SP, who along with, here too no correction is required. And if you see the third part, that is part C, other opposition parties have been stalling. Okay, here too no correction is required. And if you see the last part, that is D, the bill's passage in the Rajya Sabha. That means the bill which is getting passed for a particular resolution in the Rajya Sabha, there too no correction is required. So the entire statement seems to be perfect, so that we can say no error in this statement. So option E will be the right choice as far as question number 23 is concerned. So now let us move to question number 24. For expecting the organization to pay for the transport of the personal belongings of the employee is not fair. Is there any correction required in any of these parts? Yes, certainly. If you see the first part, for expecting the organization, we can say that for can be replaced with to. Instead of saying for expecting, you can say to expect the organization to pay for the transport of the personal belongings, the employee is not fair. Okay. So the correction is required in part A, that is for expecting should be replaced with to expect the organization. Now let us move to question number 25. Ahead of Modi's visit of Bangladesh, External Affairs Minister said agreements on the contentious issue of sharing of river waters, including that of Teesta, would not be on the agenda. If you see the first part, there seems to be no error, which says that before Modi's visit, External Affairs Minister has said something. So that is an indication where no error can be spotted. So if you move to the second part, agreements on the contentious issue, even here there seems to be no error. And if you see part C, of sharing of river waters, including that of Teesta. So Teesta is the name of a river, and here when you are trying to refer there, we need to have an article and say that of sharing of river waters, including that of the Teesta. So that should be included in the part C, and which would be the right combination, and correction is required in part C. Now let us move to question number 26. Lakhdar Brahmi, the UN envoy Syria, said that the second round of talks in Geneva has failed to make progress. If you see the first part, Lakhdar Brahmi is the person who is the UN envoy and of Syria, said that the second round, here too no correction is required in second part. And third one, of talks Geneva has failed. So instead of saying of talks in Geneva has failed, it has to be replaced with had. Of talks in Geneva had failed to make progress. Rather than saying has failed to make progress, it should be had failed to make progress. So the correction is required in part C of the statement. Now let us move to question number 27. 4 protesters and 1 policeman were killed when police cleared protest sites in Bangkok. If you see the first part, there seems to be no error. If you see the second part, were killed, that too no error. And in third part, when police cleared protest, even here no, there seems to be no error. And in option D, sites in Bangkok, here too there is no error. So obviously you can choose option E, that is no error. Now let us move to question number 28. union members say that little thought has been spared for families of employees who develops health issues owing to living and working in unhygienic conditions. So here in first part you can't see any error, as it says union members say that little thought has been spared for families of employees, which is part B. Here too no errors can be spotted, and if you see option C, that is part C, who develops health issues owing to. So here a mild correction is required, as who develops should be who develop rather than develops. So develops should be replaced with develop so that it conveys a proper meaning. So now let us move to question number 29. India has one of the largest road network in the world, aggregating to about 3.6 million kilometers at present. In the first statement, you can say India has one of the largest, which doesn't contain any error. And if you see part B, road network, instead of saying road network, you can say it as road networks. That means more than one network is available or possible, and hence part B alone requires some sort of correction, where network should be replaced with networks. And now we will go to question number 30. Till 1970, India was among first nations having the highest quota of IMF, and due to this status, India was allotted a permanent place in the executive board of directors. As a statement. So, is there any correction required in this? Till 1970, India was among first nations. Instead of saying till 1970, India was among first nations, we can say that till 1970, India was among the first nations having the highest quota of IMF. Rather than saying first, it should be the first nations having the highest quota of IMF.